The rescue. The emergency beacon pierced through the night like a dying star. Dr. Marcus Chen gripped the controls of his transport pod, his breath fogging the viewport as he descended toward the crash site. 3 years on Calith 7 had taught him to expect the unexpected, but nothing prepared him for what lay twisted in the silver sand. The Sky Spear, sleek, organic-looking, covered in iridescent plating, had carved a canyon through the dunes. Marcus's scanner indicated one life sign, fading fast. He found her half-buried beneath wreckage, her skin shimmering with an opalescent quality that shifted from pale blue to lavender in the moonlight. Blood, darker than his own, almost violet, stained her elaborate armor. Marcus had studied dozens of alien species, but he'd never seen a Lumerian this close. Never seen anyone this beautiful. He shook the thought away, focusing on survival protocols. His scanners confirmed what he feared: severe hemorrhaging, genetic shock, cascade organ failure. She needed a transfusion immediately, but Lumerian blood types were notoriously incompatible with most species. Marcus ran the compatibility scan 3 times, disbelieving the results. 97% match. Impossible. He was human. She was something else entirely. But her readings were dropping, and the nearest medical facility was 6 hours away. In his lab, Marcus worked with desperate precision, establishing the transfusion line. As his blood flowed into her, something strange rippled through his chest. Not pain, but a presence, like a second heartbeat layering over his own. The sensation intensified. He felt her consciousness rising from the dark like a swimmer breaching water, felt her panic and confusion as if they were his own emotions. When her eyes opened, Marcus forgot how to breathe. They were violet, deep and luminous, flecked with silver that caught the laboratory lights. But it wasn't their color that stopped him. It was the way she looked at him. Not with the confusion of a stranger, but with recognition so profound it felt like being seen through to his soul. "You," she whispered in accented but perfect English, her voice melodic and rich. Her hand lifted weakly, trembling, and touched her chest. Then, impossibly, she touched his. "You're inside me. I can feel you." Marcus's heart thundered. "The transfusion. I had to save you." "Your name," she said, her gaze never wavering, intense enough to make him dizzy. "Marcus. Marcus Chen." "Marcus." She repeated it like a prayer, like a promise. "I am Zalara Silvale, and you have bound us together in ways neither of us can understand."
The awakening connection. Marcus tried to maintain professional distance, but Zylara made it impossible. She followed him through the lab like a shadow, her eyes tracking his every movement with that same overwhelming intensity. When he worked at his console, she stood close enough that he could feel the warmth radiating from her skin, warmer than human, like standing near a gentle flame. "You should rest," Marcus said for the 3rd time that morning, not looking up from his analysis of her ship's debris. "Your body needs time to heal." "I cannot rest when you are awake." Her voice came from directly behind him now. "The bond, it pulls at me. When you move away, I feel incomplete." Marcus's hand stilled on the keyboard. He'd been feeling it too, a constant awareness of her presence, a magnetic tug that made concentration nearly impossible. He'd attributed it to attraction, to the undeniable beauty of her features, the graceful way she moved despite her injuries. But it was more than that. "Explain it to me," he said quietly. "What is this bond?" Zylara moved to stand beside him, close enough that their shoulders nearly touched. "Among my people, blood carries more than life. It carries essence. When you gave me yours, freely and without obligation, you opened a channel between our minds." She hesitated, then placed her hand on the desk beside his. "May I?" Marcus nodded, not trusting his voice. Her fingers brushed against his, and the world exploded into sensation. He felt her gratitude deep and boundless, her fear of the attack that had nearly killed her, her confusion about this strange human who had saved her without asking for anything in return. And beneath it all, something warm and growing, fascination, maybe, or the beginning of something deeper. He pulled back, gasping. That's intense. Yes, Zylara's eyes shimmered with emotion. For me as well. I have never been bonded before. The sensation of your thoughts brushing against mine. She pressed a hand to her chest, where, beneath her clothing, the transfusion site had healed. It is overwhelming, beautiful, terrifying.
The truth revealed. The investigation consumed the next 3 days. Marcus's lab became a war room, holographic displays showing flight trajectories, decoded communications, and Lumerian political hierarchies that made his head spin. Zylara worked beside him, her knowledge of court intrigue filling in gaps that raw data couldn't provide. But it was their bond that made them truly formidable. She would sense his confusion and explain before he asked. He would notice a pattern and she would feel his excitement, following his logic instantly. "Here," Marcus said, isolating a communication signature. "This encrypted burst was sent from your ship moments before the attack. Someone on board transmitted your exact coordinates." Zylara leaned over his shoulder, studying the data. Her hair brushed his neck, sending a shiver through both of them via the bond. "Can you trace the recipient?" Marcus worked in silence, fingers flying across the console. The bond hummed between them, not intrusive now, but comfortable, like a second heartbeat he'd grown accustomed to. "Got it," Marcus said finally. "Royal Lumerian frequency, high-level clearance, registered to—" He stopped, looking at her reflection in the screen. "Say it," Zylara whispered, though through the bond she already knew. "Prince Theron Sylvale, your cousin." The grief that flooded through their connection nearly drove Marcus to his knees. Zylara stumbled back, wrapping her arms around herself, and he felt her pain as if it were his own. Betrayal sharp as broken glass, memories of childhood with Theron, of trust shattered. Marcus was at her side instantly, pulling her into his arms. "I'm so sorry." "He was like a brother," she said against his chest, her voice breaking. "We played together as children. He taught me to fly. How could he—" "Power," Marcus said grimly. "According to these files, he's been gathering support among the isolationist faction. With you gone, he'd be next in line for the throne." Zylara pulled back slightly, looking up at him. Through the bond, he felt her devastation transforming into something harder, more resolved. "Then we must prove his treachery, expose him before the Concord." "We will," Marcus promised. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing away a tear that shimmered silver in the light. "But right now, you need to rest, to process this." "I cannot rest. I cannot stop feeling." She pressed closer, and suddenly the grief in the bond shifted, transmuting into desperate need. "Marcus, please, I need to feel something other than this pain. I need—" She didn't finish. She kissed him instead, fierce and urgent, and Marcus responded with equal hunger. The bond amplified everything, desire crashing over them in waves, doubling back on itself until he couldn't tell his need from hers. They stumbled toward his quarters, breaking apart only long enough to navigate doorways. Marcus's back hit the wall, and Zylara pressed against him, her hands mapping the contours of his chest, his shoulders. Through the bond, he felt her fascination with his body, so different from Lumerian physiology, yet fitting against hers as if designed for it. "Are you sure?" he managed, as his hands traced the curve of his spine. "I have never been more certain of anything," Zylara breathed. Her eyes held his, luminous and intense. "The bond shows me your heart, Marcus Chen. Shows me your honor, your kindness, your strength. I want all of you."
The flight. Marcus woke to alarm screaming through the compound. Zylara was already moving, the bond alerting her to danger a split second before the klaxons. "They're here," she said, pulling on her recovered armor with practiced efficiency. "Who?" Marcus reached for his clothes, his heart hammering. "Everyone." Through his lab's security feeds, Marcus saw them. Lumerian strike teams materializing from cloaked ships, their weapons glowing with contained energy. And from the opposite direction, human security forces in full combat gear, led by Director Kovacs from the Colonial Authority. They were surrounded. The station AI detected our research, Marcus realized with sinking dread. Kovacs thinks I'm compromised, and your people know I'm alive and have come to finish what Thuron started. Zalara's hand found his, their bond thrumming with shared adrenaline. The maintenance tunnels, can you access them? Yes, but they'll lead us into the wilderness, into the shimmer wastes. Better than dying here. They ran. The tunnels shook with weapons fire above them, concrete dust raining down as both forces tore through the compound. Marcus led them through passages he'd mapped during long, lonely nights, emerging finally into the crystalline desert beyond the research station. The shimmer waste stretched before them, impossible formations of bioluminescent crystal jutting from silver sand, refracting the light of 3 moons into a landscape of dancing colors, beautiful and deadly, with temperatures that could kill an unprotected human in hours. This way, Marcus gasped, steering them toward a canyon he'd explored once. There are caves, natural shelter. Behind them, explosions lit the night. Through the bond, Marcus felt Zalara's determination mixing with his fear, her strength bolstering him as they ran across sand that glittered like ground stars. They reached the caves as the first search drone swept overhead. Marcus pulled Zalara deep into the crystal formations, into chambers where walls pulsed with soft blue light, some kind of bioluminescent organism that had colonized the minerals. We're safe, Marcus panted. For now, these crystals interfere with scanning equipment. Zalara nodded, but through the bond I felt her despair. They will never stop hunting us. My own people, your authorities, we are enemies to everyone. No! Marcus took her shoulders, making her meet his eyes. We're proof that something new is possible, something better than the divisions they're all clinging to. Marcus, his name was a plea on her lips, I have brought you nothing but danger. You should have left me to die in that wreckage. Don't! The word came out sharper than I intended. Through the bond, he pushed everything he felt toward her, his certainty, his feelings, the way she had become essential to him in mere days. Don't you dare regret the bond. Don't regret us. Zalara's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. I am terrified, she whispered. Terrified of losing you, of what they will do to you because of me. Then feel this too. Marcus pulled her close, and through their connection he showed her the truth. That he would choose her again, that he would give his blood 1,000 times over. That somewhere, in the chaos of the past days, he had fallen completely, irrevocably in love with her. The emotion crashed over Zalara like a wave and she gasped, wonder replacing fear in the bond. You... truly? Truly. She kissed him then, tender and reverent, and Marcus felt her love flowing back through the connection, profound and ancient and new all at once. They sank to the soft moss growing among the crystals, the bioluminescent light painting their skin in shades of blue and violet. Show me, Zalara breathed against his lips. Let me feel everything. Marcus opened the bond completely, and their lovemaking became something transcendent. Every touch was amplified, doubled back through their connection. His reverence for her became hers for him, her pleasure cascaded into his and returned transformed. They moved together in perfect synchronization, the bond guiding them, teaching them the rhythm of each other's desires. When they finally lay tangled together, hearts slowing to match each other's pace, the crystal's walls pulsed gently around them like a heartbeat. Whatever comes, Zalara said softly, her head on Marcus's chest, I will face it with you. Together, Marcus agreed, his fingers tracing patterns on her shoulder that made her shiver through the bond, always together. Outside, the search continued, but in their crystal sanctuary, 2 hearts beat as one.
The choice. They couldn't hide forever. On the 3rd day in the caves, Marcus's portable scanner detected a massive energy signature approaching, a Lumerian royal dreadnought flanked by human military vessels, an unprecedented joint force. They're working together now, Marcus said grimly, united in wanting us contained. Zalara studied the readings, her expression unreadable. Then, through the bond, Marcus felt her decision crystallize, sharp and clear and terrifying. No more running. We end this now. Zalara. Trust me. She took his hand, and through their connection, she showed him her plan. It was dangerous, possibly suicidal, but it was also brilliant. Will you stand with me? Marcus looked into those luminous violet eyes, feeling the bond thrumming between them like a living thing. Until the stars go dark. They emerged from the caves together, hands clasped, and waited.
The ships descended in a show of overwhelming force. Lumerian soldiers materialized in shimmer bursts of light, while human troops established a perimeter. And from the royal dreadnought came Prince Theron himself. His features, so like Zalara's, but twisted with cold ambition. "Cousin," he called, his voice amplified across the waste, "you've caused quite the diplomatic incident, contaminating yourself with human essence, forming forbidden bonds. The Council has declared you unfit to rule." "Have they?" Zalara's voice rang clear despite her lack of amplification. "Or did you convince them of that, Theron, just as you convinced assassins to destroy my ship?" Theron's expression didn't flicker. "Careful with your accusations, cousin. You're in no position to make enemies." "I have proof," Marcus called out. He held up his datapad, the evidence they'd compiled glowing on its screen. "Encrypted communications, financial transfers, your entire conspiracy documented." "The word of a compromised human?" Theron laughed. "The bond has corrupted his mind. Everyone knows telepathic influence is impossible without consent. As you well know, cousin, the bond does not control, it reveals." She stepped forward, pulling Marcus with her. "You fear this connection because it threatens everything you believe, that we must remain separate, superior, alone." Through the bond, Marcus felt her gathering her telepathic strength. "Watch, and don't be afraid," she whispered in his mind. Zalara opened their bond wide, not just to Marcus, but broadcasting it somehow, projecting the truth of their connection outward. Every soldier, every pilot, every watching observer suddenly felt it. The depth of their trust, the purity of their love, the way their minds had harmonized without either losing their identity.